tangy and wild. There was no one to blame. He hadn't been tamed, and he just wouldn't be reconciled to life in a cage, roped off to the sage on the rimrock and juniper tree, where he ran in his youth unkempt and uncouth, unbridled, barefoot and free. He was out of good stock from his head to his hock, healthy and strong as a horse, eager to learn with energy to burn, headstrong and self-willed, of course. So it was no surprise when you looked in his eyes, searching a way just to reach him, you discovered a soul like an innocent bull, but wild as the desert beneath him. For you see, in all truth, there were no other youth in those earliest days in the desert, and the things that he learned mostly concerned how a man's character measured. Wild horses and saddles, rawhide riatas were the subjects he learned as a child. Wide open spaces, plain, honest faces, bred a heart full of freedom and wild. Hard-bitten old hands hunkered down in the sands. He heard the language they used. Their language was rough, and they spoke plain enough their meanings could not be confused. And if push come to shove, none of them were above taking the Lord's name in vain. And a curse here and there didn't bother a hair if it made their meanings more plain. Then he turned 6. And oh, what a mix of rebellion and deep consternation befuddled his mind, made his innards unwind, deprived him of all concentration. There in first grade, so much trouble he made that soon it became necessary to bridle his mouth and warm up his south and rein in his vocabulary, because he said what he thought. And all his thought ended up at the principal's office, sitting silent as stone, declining to own his part in the ensuing chaos. Now those first years in school, just survive was a rule, and being the new kid in town meant stand up to each bully until they finally fully understood that he would not back down, for he'd never been taught that fighting was not to some issues a suitable answer. And he learned to sing songs and strum his guitar along, and he became a really good dancer. He learned about cars and girls and guitars. School didn't seem too important, so the directions he chose weren't necessarily those that would lead to an early retirement. Each hot summer day was spent in fields full of hay or saddled up roping and branding. So some work that paid better, someplace cooler and better, seemed to him a bit less demanding. So he found him a job in the smoky dim fog of a bar called the Old Stirrup Room, where he played his guitar for tips in a jar and slept in each day until noon. Now down through the years, through the trouble and tears, that old guitar has been by his side. And though he might have done better with more schooling and letters, still it's been one heck of a ride. So when all is said and done, there's still only one way to live and to be truly free. You must reach for the glory. Remember this story, because that 5-year-old cowboy was me.